Hi, and welcome to the NBA Economy Show. Thanks for joining us today. Today's topic is on Jimmy Butler and the potential possibility of Jimmy Butler joining the Milwaukee Bucks. And in recent days, we talked about his dream list, and pretty much Phoenix was where he was pointing. Yes, he put other contenders on that list, but none of them are realistic. Teams willing to break up what they have for a 36-year-old Jimmy Butler. Um, it takes a special set of circumstances to make it work for the Heat and to make it work for the other team. There are teams that he would love to go to, but it just doesn't make sense. Recently, the last few days, Milwaukee Bucks have come into the scene, and at first I shrugged it off. With the Milwaukee Bucks being the second apron, basically there's nothing they could have gave. Being in the second apron, the restriction they have is they can't aggregate salaries, so they can't add salaries together. We're gonna just look on that on the cap sheet. So right now we're on the Knicks cap sheet, and then we'll go over to Milwaukee. So we know Jimmy Butler makes just over $48 million. They are not trading Damian Lillard for Jimmy Butler. So we thought this was kind of out of the equation. Milwaukee basically couldn't do anything, but they are in a special set of circumstances because when we look at their numbers, we see that there are $6.5 million into the second apron. That is quite unique. Um, Usually can't just they can't do a trade while in the second apron, um, even if it brings them under. But what the Milwaukee Bucks can do is they can make a trade first to put them in the first apron and then trade for Jimmy Butler. And that is the possibility that has been raised in the last couple of days. And let's just go back and look at that. Remember, we talked about that 6.5 million. Looks a lot like Pat Connaughton. So what they're trying to do, they're looking around the league. Um, Connaughton is not 6.5, but 9.4. So if they can find a home for Pat Connaughton, and they can not take back 3 more million, then they are green light to do a trade for Jimmy Butler, where they can just make sure they equal 48 or make a combination. So let's think Chris Middleton, Bobby Portis, and maybe a different combination to make that work. Um, I have this because basically Jimmy Butler is trying to assure himself that he gets a max contract next time around. In the last few days, we had a leak that the Milwaukee Bucks has a 2-year, $61 million a year contract extension waiting for Jimmy Butler. And Jimmy Butler is doing everything in his power to scratch and claw and make enough trouble that they give him his wish. Um, Milwaukee can make that happen for him. Um, Phoenix seems to be a tough sell. Phoenix are willing to do it, um, but Bradley Beal has to accept it. And not only that, a team has to be willing to take Bradley Beal, which makes that a tough tough to find that balance, to find a team that works. That it works for a team, it works for Bradley Beal, and it works for the Heat. But I think Jimmy Butler may may be the last vestiges of the player empowerment era, where if you're a star player, you can get your way by pushing your way through. The CBA is not only to just protect GMs, but it's to make sure teams are assembling teams the right way. So you can't you always have those legacy teams. You have teams like the Lakers who are always good no matter what they do. Don't matter if they splurge the money, don't matter if they splurge the picks. Lakers has always been a destination. The CBA kind of evens it out. So even though everybody may want to go to the Lakers, the money simply won't work. So it's supposed to kind of spread the wealth in the league. And think Jimmy's still trying to upset that new balance they're trying to put into the league by saying I can force my way to where I want, by telling teams not to get me, to ruining value, to showing that he's willing to upset team chemistry to get his way. I think he's one of the last players who's going to get away with this. Jimmy has a way of doing this. If I'm the Milwaukee Bucks, I'd do it. They're in between a rock and a hard place. They have to make Giannis happy. If this trade is going to make Giannis happy for 2 more years and get him just satisfied to stay on the team for 2 years, it's great for them. It not necessarily even has to be a championship, but I think it's better than Chris Middleton. But if it keeps Giannis 2 more years in Milwaukee, I think it's done its job, and I think they're going to do everything in their power to make it happen. We see that he is in a 7. We see Jimmy Butler is in the midst of a 7 game suspension from the Miami Heat, and it is getting ugly. Today we see they put a 10-page defense of their 7 game suspension. They also sent video examples of why they suspended him. It looks like he is done with the Heat. It seems like the Heat are out for blood. It's not unheard of to see someone suspended at certain times, but they're putting out so much evidence just to hurt Jimmy. So it's almost like Jimmy's hurting the team, and the team wants to hurt him back. So it doesn't look like it's gonna be an easy separation between those two. In that type of situation, you have to even think at this point, do the Heat want to give him what he wants? Is it so bad that you don't want to give him what he wants, even if it's the best deal available? So that's something to think about. Okay, so in probability, Jimmy to the Bucks. If they can get rid of Pat Connaughton, the problem is I don't think many people are going to take Pat Connaughton without some assets. And what Milwaukee lacks is assets. They lack assets just to get rid of Pat Connaughton, and they lack assets to give to the Heat. Would the Heat like any of the people on this list? Portis, yes, good player. Middleton, injured the last couple of years, mostly injured the last couple of years at $31 million. He has another year on there. I don't see how this touches the Phoenix deal. Um, so you want to get two more, maybe with the Phoenix deal. They were talking about maybe a first round pick included. Milwaukee really doesn't have much to offer. Um, I think it's just gonna get. I think this may quiet for now. I think the 7 days suspension uh, will end. I think he'll be forced to go back to the Heat, and I think they're gonna have to come up with something different. I don't think they can make up an injury, but I think they're gonna do some a uh, mental vacation, time off needed for mental rest or something like that, stress related injury. Um, and then um, as the time gets closer to the trade deadline, I think they're going to get more serious. Um, I think Phoenix is working on their situation with Bradley Beal. By Bradley Beal on the bench, they're making it uncomfortable. They're making it a situation that he does not want to stay in. So that maybe he'll go to a city that isn't one of his favorite cities, just to be able to be put in a starting situation. Yeah, that's all I had for now with the Jimmy Butler. I put the Bucks at 33%. I also put Phoenix at 33%, but I don't see it happening now. I think it's going to take some time, and I think it's going to take kind of desperation on all the teams involved. Um, so so 33, 33. Um, yeah, I think this is going to get ugly. Jimmy, every chance he gets is on social media. Trying not to get fined, but making underhanded comments about coffee and things to refer to the Heat without trying to get fined. So we're gonna see this get a lot uglier before it gets better. I know we have a lot of Knicks fans on this channel. I say hi to Just Knicks. Says salute to you as well. Um, I do want to have a little talk maybe tomorrow on Tom Thibodeau and my thoughts of the Minutes Police and that last loss. So hopefully we can have a chat about that. It's not really going to be a cap sheet conversation, but I definitely do have thoughts that are probably a little different than most people on the Knicks situation. But I thank everybody for tuning in. I always encourage everybody, please hit the like and subscribe button. It really helps the channel. We do have we do take donations, even though I know I don't have a super chat button because I don't have the subscribers. But if you want to donate, that is definitely going to help us keep it going and use assets to make the channel better. Thank you for joining tonight, and I will see you tomorrow. And we'll talk about Tom Thibodeau, and we'll keep you up to date on the latest trade season news. Thank you.